Test, test. Cody. Testing. Testing. Test. Testing. 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 Test, test. Test, test. Testing, testing.
Test 1, 2, 3, and their voices are will be much. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this one seems like you need to have it right here. Okay.
Guess we could put them on the edge, huh? Or do they need that for their paper?
No, is there one more?
Okay. Test.
Yeah.
Testing.
I think when they're
Yeah.
projecting their voices, that's
Right. Let's see, what if it was two here? Let's see. Would it make a difference?
interference with them next to each other that close.
No, that's the good thing about these. Oh, yeah, that's much. Okay.
Do both. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, they're designed not to
Interfere with each other.
interfere. Yeah. Yeah, the two sounds much better. What you think?
Yeah, I think we do too. Test two. So do you want to keep them off and muted, or do we want to?
Just
keep-
testing now,
Yeah.
and then we can just unmute them.
I would sing, but I can't sing. I really don't want to make everyone leave before we get started.
It will hurt.
Huh?
You can try.
I promise you guys will be screaming out of this board.
That's kind of
No, that's fine. That one's
echoey.
yeah, that one's. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Oh, it's getting tinny. Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mic check. Okay.
Project your voice a little bit.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if they're back here, it'll pick it up a little bit. Yeah, probably.
Because it's less about projecting in here
Right.
and more from the screen.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's just about the stream, maybe we'll just put one on each, huh?
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
And then if you want to throw headphones on during.
Test. Test. Okay. And so you just have to hit that, and as you see,
Yeah,
it
it's
starts to
already
pick
live.
it up. And this one as well.
Show me what to hit again.
You just hit this little button right here, and then it'll turn green. And then hit it to go back to red. Yeah. All right. Are you guys about to play right away? Should I leave them on? Or leave them off? Leave them off, okay. It takes a
it's just parent ride problems. Jen and Brianna,
Test.
Alana.
And then, as you can see, it starts to pick up, so.
This one's still not receiving the signal.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's 5:30. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order on November 9th, 2023. And we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to New Mexico flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el simbología de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas. And the acknowledgement of tribal lands. We acknowledge that our Board of Education meeting is taking place on occupied indigenous lands. We acknowledge the Tesuque Pueblo lands and other tribal lands on which we stand. We honor these people, past, present, and future. We acknowledge the history and ongoing colonization of where we are sitting right now in New Mexico and in our country. We acknowledge our own place in the story of colonization. Thank you very much. Next is approval of the agenda. Superintendent, do we have any changes to make?
We do have one change. Board President Bozay, we will be pulling the presentation on student data. Last week in a meeting with the New Mexico Public Education Department, the embargo of student data was supposed to expire at 5 p.m. last Wednesday. It's still currently in place, so we cannot present that data.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing that in the future. In the meantime, can I have an approval of the agenda with that change?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda minus the presentation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks so much. Next is introduction of the interpreter.
Para asistencia de traducción en español, el señor Horta te ayudará.
And our favorite part of the night, the school board showcase.
Thank you, Board President Bozay, members of the board, those in the audience. With us tonight is Mr. Carl Morano, Assistant Superintendent, and Principal, Directing Principal at Gonzales Community School, Mr. Chris Lopez.
Superintendent Chavez, President Bozay, members of the board, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the principal of Gonzales Community School, Mr. Chris Lopez.
Madam President, members of the board, superintendent, thank you for having us. I want to take this opportunity to showcase our school, but the most important part of our school are our students. Today they're represented by our 8th grade groups. I have Anthony, I have Autumn, and I have Savannah. They created for you a video that highlights our school, and I'll go into a little bit into detail of the video once you see it. Hey, welcome to Gonzales Community School. This is a film produced by our students. I hope you enjoy.
What do you like most about Gonzales?
That is supportive of everyone.
What would you like to tell someone who thinks they want to become a logo?
That being a logo is so fun. You get to help so many people and so many things.
tell someone who think they want to be a logo?
I would tell them that try to be smart at it and do best in being a logo.
What do you think they'd like to know about the school?
I've been here for centuries and it's a really good school.
What is your name?
My name is Chris Lopez. I'm the principal of Gonzales.
What do you like most about Gonzales?
The kids. The kids here are fantastic. They are the nicest kids that I've encountered, ranging from K through 8, through all our students. I really love working with our students.
What would you tell someone who thinks they want to be a logo?
Come and join us. We need all the students we can get, and we love creating future logos, either UNM or other places. We love having our students here, and we love teaching them.
What do you think they'd like to know about the school?
I think that we are a fantastic all-around school, no matter what the student's looking for, whether they're an athlete, whether they're into STEAM, whether they're into the arts. We provide a place for us.
Do I push it? Okay. Okay, so once again, kudos to our students. That was produced by them, made by them. They had help from our DLC, which thank you to our Santa Fe voters for that, for our ETN, continuation of that. They had help from our DLC, and they also had help from Cody and some equipment. It was amazing. They turned that around. I gave them the assignment in 1 week, and they turned it around, and they did just a fantastic job. So once again, thank you. Thank you. I just want to reiterate how special a place I think Gonzales is. Of course, I'm biased, but I love our students. I love our school. I'm very proud to be a representative of Santa Fe Public Schools and to represent Gonzales specifically. Thank you.
And who are these wonderful students standing next to you?
Would you like them to introduce themselves?
Yes,
Okay.
we always love to hear from students.
Anthony.
Amada. Savannah.
It's very nice to meet you, Anthony, Autumn, and Savannah. Thanks for coming out tonight. Were you part of making this video? Great job. Questions, comments from the board? Yes.
I just wanted to say, well, you know that we love Gonzales because my oldest daughter was at Gonzales for a little while and a couple of years, and she adored it, and we just love it. But I just wanted to share with you that I was just talking to a parent. They had transferred from a private school with like a very kind of different bent than our public school curriculum, and I was a little nervous, like, you know, it's going to be a shift for this kiddo. Absolutely love it. They're in 4th grade at Gonzales, and the parents love it. The student loves it. He's really excited about the cafeteria. And he also really loves doing his homework. So kudos to you. Kudos to the team for the homework policy. That's obviously really working out. But you guys are doing a phenomenal job. So keep on keeping on.
Thank you. That's always wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. I also have a special place in my heart for Gonzales, and that video was amazing. For all of you to turn it around that fast, do all those interviews. Clearly, there's plenty of kids who are good at speaking on camera, so maybe we can see even more of that. But really, it was wonderful. Appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One other shout out, we have a computer-assisted arts class that functions as our technology class. And Miss Dryce, who is our teacher, was able to set the foundation for a lot of what you saw through her class.
Super cool. And in addition to all of those other programs you mentioned, because there's orchestral instruments in the front row here, I'm going to give a shout out to the Gonzalez Orchestra, which I heard play a few weeks ago, and they were also outstanding. So I believe when you say you can get anything you want at Gonzalez, I believe it.
Yes, our choir also did quite well at a most recent competition. Very proud of them. Beyond that, they were complimented on their behavior, which is always near and dear to my heart.
Kudos. Yes, Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, superintendent. I just want to say that I really like Gonzalez too, but Gonzalez was named after my father, Albert Gonzalez.
It also has a special place in her heart.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's a great mosaic, right,
Yes.
of him on the front. Yeah,
Yes.
super cool.
Thank you.
Very special. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next school showcase. Our Director of Fine Arts for Santa Fe Public School, Miss Christina Gonzalez, will be making the introductions.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, I'm so delighted to prepare here, introduce our Aspen Community School Orchestra under the direction of Tom Green. Before he began teaching strings in Santa Fe Public Schools, that was in 2019, Tom served for 25 years as the principal bass of the Eastern Connecticut Symphony Orchestra. And throughout that time, he taught instrumental music in Ledyard Public Schools, where he led a very large, dynamic, and ever-changing group of young musicians. Tom's biography and resume is so accomplished. I won't read the whole thing, but I do want to highlight a few little tidbits that I think you'll be very interested to hear. He has toured playing music all over the world: Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom. That's sort of notable. I thought this was a really fun fact. Tom, during his tenure as principal bass of the United States Coast Guard Band, he played at the inauguration of Bill Clinton, the 1993 inauguration of Bill Clinton. His achievements go on and on, the artists that he has performed with. So we're very honored to have Tom here. And I think we have a slide, Cody, that will sort of introduce what you're going to be hearing. And we've got, if you wouldn't mind just hitting play on that left video.
Hello,
There we
I'm
go.
JB and I teach math at Aspen. First Concert Suite is a set of 3 stylistically different pieces. Pizzicato Party utilizes pizzicato on open strings. Noah's Ark Go Again uses open strings, this time with a bow. Sweet Slurs introduces slurring of notes in groups of 2 over a light, sweet melody.
Hola, soy señora Naya y doy clases 4 grado en Aspen. First Concert Suite es un conjunto de 3 piezas estilísticamente diferentes. Pizzicato Party utiliza pizzicato en cuerdas al aire. El arco de Noah vuelve a utilizar cuerdas al aire, esta vez con el arco. Sweet Slurs introduce la mezcla de notas en grupos de 2 sobre una melodía ligera y dulce.
Congratulations and thank you, Tom and Aspen.
Well, that was awesome. Great job, Aspen kiddos and teacher.
That was outstanding. It really was. I guess we'll move on to public forum now.
Great. Thank you, Board President Bozay, members of the board, those in the audience. With us tonight, as always, taking us through public forum is our Public Information Officer, Mr. Cody Donarski. Mr. Donarski.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. We have 2 people signed up for public forum comment tonight. Public forum includes online and/or virtual participation as needed, as well as in-person comments when the board holds in-person meetings. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. There will be no sharing of time. Self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. I will give you a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. Public commentary and dialogue are allowed only during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. Please do not discuss employee matters which may result in disciplinary action. Instead, notify the employee's supervisor, the Human Resources Department, or the superintendent. Our first comment is from Anna Carlson. Greetings, board members. Like many parents, my husband and I are concerned about controversial topics being presented in our school district without parental knowledge or consent. Recently, in our daughter's 7th grade English classroom, the book The Outsiders was taught, and then on the agenda was to show the film. The content in both glorify violence, substance abuse, and lewd behavior, and incidentally have been banned in many schools across the country. We were not made aware prior to the reading that this material would be presented in their class. When controversial topics such as politics, religion, and sexuality are wanting to be included in school curriculum, parental consent forms should be required prior to the presentation of the material. Additionally, alternate academic materials should be made available that allows students to fulfill the course requirements. We would like to understand the school district's policy related to this concern at the next board meeting. The last comment is from Scott Shucker. Good day, members of the board. I am a teacher for the district. I congratulate you on your full implementation of standards-based grading district-wide, which I'm sure was a monumental effort. Now it's time to address another pressing issue, cell phone use by students in schools. There is now a movement gaining traction both in the US and Europe to completely ban their possession by students while in school. Teachers and administrators are tired, no, exhausted, from fighting them for student attention in and out of the classroom, and we are clearly losing. We need your support. For me, being in such an environment is like watching the zombie apocalypse every day. Please consider creating a plan that effectively addresses this. Of course, parents and students will likely be very upset at the outset, but in the long run, it will benefit everyone. Big tech should not be running in our schools. I trust you care enough to get the ball rolling. And that completes public forum for tonight.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak during public forum that didn't sign up? All right. Thanks so much. Next, we have our union update. I don't see Grace Mayer in the audience tonight. So we can move on to student board member updates.
Hi, my name is Hanbi, and I'm the student board rep for Santa Fe High. Thank you, superintendent and president, and other fellow board members. For Capitol High School, I'll be covering for Erin Lucio. Miss Tommy Rotten was recognized as the Santa Fe Public School Teacher of Quarter by the Superintendent Chavez. Ellie Bonavides was selected for the ACDA Youth All-State Choir. Our WAVE Club presented a powerful lesson through advisory to bring awareness to mental health and to highlight resources for students who may be struggling with their mental health. Capitol will be hosting their annual Jaguar Connection event on November the 20th and November the 21st. This is when incoming 9th graders visit Capitol High School to learn about our programs, extracurricular opportunities, and are able to tour the school. Congratulations to Elijah Rodriguez Montano and Ricardo Martinez for making the first team offense. Elijah Rodrigo Montano and Ricardo Martinez and Angelo Baker for making first team defense. Christopher Trujillo and Ryan Garcia for making second team defense. Angel Quintana Gonzalez for making first team kicker. Reef Trujillo, Gavin Trujillo. Angelo Baker and Jonah Waipa for making all academic, and the following players for receiving honorable mentions: Ryan Garcia, Hernan Salas, Steven Montano, Fabian Ryan, Diego Rivero, and for defense, Matthew Trujillo, Jonah Waipa, Fabian Ryan, Ele Dominguez, Angel Quintana Gonzalez, and Andrew Rodriguez. Finally, Capitol High School got their NHS club going and finally got a teacher to cover for the previous teacher, Miss Mayers. And the first meeting will be on November 3rd. For Santa Fe High School, our Santa Fe Model UN had over 48 students participate at the Roundhouse last Thursday and Friday, with our students bringing back 4 awards. We received honorable mentions in the General Assembly and Security Council and outstanding awards in UNESCO and DISEC. Earlier in October, the Demon Marching Band from last school board meeting performed their entire show at the UNM campus and missed finals by only 1 point. Girls soccer progressed to state quarterfinals but lost to El Dorado High School, who were the state champions last year. The 2023 cross-country season will be wrapping up soon, with state being held this weekend. Girls volleyball is 3rd in 5A district and is on track to finishing well this season. And finally, for music, 6 students were selected for All-State Choir and 3 students were selected for All-State Orchestra, with 2 of them being placed in the highest symphony. Band results will be coming next week.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm Lucas Robbins. I'm the student board member for ECO, Desert Sage, and Mandela. As for ECO, ECO clubs are in full swing with Climbing Club, Esports Club, Nail Design Club, and Go-Kart Club. We hope to get our RC club up and going, weather permitting. ECO has reached out to all K-8 and middle schools to have 8th graders tour ECO. This will allow all students to choose ECO as their high school option if they're interested in ECO programming. As for Desert Sage, Desert Sage is continuing to promote office hours for students at the secondary level. Office hours provide the opportunity for students to get individualized help for teachers in person, from teachers in person or virtually. And as for Mandela, Mandela Student Council successfully hosted our annual Fall Festival on October 26th, raising over $1,000 for school and community dances and events. Mandela High School has learned about parliamentary procedure and the duties of the UN while representing the country of Kazakhstan at this year's Model UN conference at the Roundhouse, participating in Model UN for the first time in years. Mandela Student Council is looking forward to hosting our annual art show and craft fair on Saturday, December 2nd. This event is always a fun opportunity to meet the community and for student artists to get experience selling their work. On November 10th, from 5 to 7:30 p.m., Mandela will host our 2nd annual Basket Bingo. This fun PTA-led event is an opportunity for students and parents to play bingo and win baskets full of various goods. That's all the announcements I had for Mandela. One note that I wanted to make to the board is just to quickly bring to your attention Board Policy 410. I'll just read it real quick, but it just calls for schools with grades 8 and 12 in the Santa Fe Public Schools to participate in one field trip to the legislature a year during a legislative session. This one is kind of personal importance to me because I became interested in government and policy at a field trip to the legislature in last year, in my 10th grade year. And I think that this policy, from what I've seen at Mandela, it really isn't being implemented. I think it might have fallen off after COVID or something like that. But that's just something I wanted to bring to the attention of the board. I think it's really important that we have youth exposure to the government process. So yeah, that's Board Policy 410. Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. It absolutely is important. Any questions or comments from the board, from the student board member? Yes.
I appreciate that very much. And I remember when we passed that, I think, and just a fun fact to add, we had at one time a very robust discussion about civics and the need for rejuvenating civic education in the Santa Fe Public Schools when that policy was passed. And it is the reason that we have school on Veterans Day. We had at the time a veteran serving on the board, and it was all part of the same discussion, but the idea was to be in school on Veterans Day, which is, of course, the observed holiday is tomorrow. And she said it's better and was part of the civics lesson to be in school and learning about Veterans Day on Veterans Day than to have the day off. So that's sort of all related, but it's great to remind us that we did very intentionally pass that policy. Thank you.
All right. Board announcements and follow-up. Yes, Member Noble.
I guess I just want to, in this forum, officially congratulate 3 of the board members who are sitting here, all of whom were on the ballot this November 7th, and were reelected. President Sarah Bose, Secretary Romana Peta, and Board Member Dr. Gonzalez. So 4 more years of these 3 board members.
And a big thank you to the community for supporting our school bonds. That was also very important. We had great turnout in this election, and I was really pleased to see those numbers. I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Robbins, who volunteers with the El Dorado Fire Department and who we encountered on Halloween evening, as well as to Mr. Park, who I got to listen to at Santa Fe High a few weeks ago in the orchestra. That was really my announcement that I was going to share. There was a concert that had the middle school students from El Dorado and Gonzales and Milagro, as well as the Santa Fe High Orchestra. There are a lot of kids playing orchestra in our middle schools, and we need to make sure that we have programs for them to join in high school. So that was a very eye-opening experience for me, and you all were fantastic. It was great to listen to you. Congratulations. Yes, Dr. Gonzalez.
President Bose, superintendent, members of the board, I went to an electric school bus presentation this morning, and I was totally amazed. I didn't realize that, I mean, I have an electric car and I know it's very quiet, but I didn't realize how quiet the electric buses were. They had a diesel bus right next to the electric bus. They turned it on. It's really loud, and the electric buses were really quiet. So I hope we get more electric buses.
Really quiet and no pollution.
Yeah. It's easier for the drivers to manage the students.
That's a good point. Any other board member announcements or follow-up? I don't have any CRC announcements. We haven't met since the last board meeting we had. We do have a meeting next week, though.
I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about and not talk about. Just that we have. Okay, yeah. We had the exit conference at the audit committee, and so the process is once it will be submitted to the state auditor shortly, but it has been completed. Congratulations to Superintendent Mr. Martinez and the whole finance team who's done a lot of work along with our auditors, the Jaramillo Accounting Group. And after it is accepted by the auditor, the state auditor, then it will be presented to the board and for acceptance.
Correct. Great. All right, I think you're up.
Thank you, Board President Bose, members of the board. Again, just want to reiterate what Board Member Noble mentioned. Congratulations to our 3 board members. I do look forward to working with you guys and continuing on the progress that we've made and for more progress in the future. I also want to thank the voters here in Santa Fe for approving our ETN and SB 9 mill levy ballot question. Really, it was a great turnout. The results were remarkable, And again, I just want to thank the voters from Santa Fe for prioritizing technology and also school maintenance and upgrades to our school building. So again, congratulations to Deputy Superintendent Christy Wagner, Dr. Neil Weaver, our communications team, teachers, staff, board members for really pushing this out, getting us across the finish line, and doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So I want to thank you guys as well. In regard to Board Policy 356, since we're kind of on that topic about discussing board policies, again, this is the one that started from Reimagining Committee on Student Engagement. I'm pleased to report to you guys as board members that all K-8 schools and middle schools now have a student council in place with a school sponsor. With this in place, each school did conduct elections for president and vice president. There are even some treasurers on here and some secretaries. And then they'll be working with our student board members to help report out and really keep them informed with middle school efforts. So again, want to thank the Reimagining Committee. That was the first policy that was brought forward, but they are all in place now and will continue to monitor and provide updates. Wanted to congratulate Chris Lopez, art teacher at Chaparral and Pinon Elementary School, for being named the Elementary Art Educator of the Year by the New Mexico Art Education Association. He was formally recognized with the honor at the association's October 27th through the 29th conference. Lawrence is a national board certified art teacher with 15 years of experience teaching art to K-12 students. So again, I want to say congratulations, job well done, and it's really well recognized. And if you guys can stand up, the congratulations to the Santa Fe High School girls soccer team. They were your district champs. Also, they finished the regular season with a record of 18 wins, 3 losses, 1 tie. The girls are led by head coach Justin Najaka. And again, they made it to the second round of the state playoffs. We were all out there supporting you guys. You guys may not have seen us because you guys had business on the field, but we were there. They matched up with a very, very tough El Dorado Eagles team. And again, we want to thank you guys for such a great season. We wish you guys future in the upcoming seasons and continue the hard work. And once again, congratulations and job well done.
Congratulations.
We have a second coach in the audience. Again, where'd she go? There you are. Congratulations to Capitol High School coach Santana Orozco for being named the District 5A Soccer Coach of the Year for Capitol High. And just a little note, we have a little bit of history. I started teaching and coaching in Rio Rancho Public Schools, and when I became a head coach for Rio Rancho Public Schools, I coached her older sister. And we just had a kind of reunification over there. I told her to tell her older sister hi. But yeah, such a small world. Coach Orozco, she's the head coach of the girls soccer team at Capitol. She was selected again as the 23 Coach of the Year for our district in just her second season as a head coach. It's her 5th year coaching overall, and Coach Orozco has tripled the girls' roster, putting Capitol High School in a position to have a competitive season for many, many years ahead. So again, we want to thank you and congratulate you.
Congratulations.
We also want to congratulate one of our student board members, Mr. Hanbi Park, for ranking 1st in viola in the symphony orchestra at the All-State Orchestra auditions this month. Two other Santa Fe High School students also received rankings. Malia Brenninger ranked 2nd in viola, and Nathan Christensen ranked 1st in cello. So congratulations to those individuals as well. And a little update on the lottery. The lottery is currently open for the 24-25 school year. It opened on November 1st, providing parents with a 3-month priority window to submit their interzone transfer requests. All schools are part of the lottery, including Mandela, Desert Sage, and Early College Opportunities, or better known as ECO. Parents can submit the request through the end of January at midnight by visiting our website. Requests submitted after February 8th will be handled on a first-come, first-served basis. And speaking of lottery, in addition to it, we had a options night on October 24th, right here in the boardroom. The event focused on Mandela, Eco, and Desert Sage. The principals were present, the boardroom was full, and a lot of parents and students opted to listen and hear about the options that these three schools, unique schools, have to offer. And then on next week, on the 16th of November, we'll be holding a middle school pathway showcase at Salazar Elementary School from 5:30 to 7:30. This will be a great opportunity for incoming middle school students and their parents to learn about all the options and programming available to them, including computer science, art, bilingual program, biomedical pathways, AVID, community schools, and all the arrays that our middle schools have to offer. So that is upcoming. Just want to remind, and we may want to discuss this for advanced planning, but we did talk to our lobbyist, Linda Siegel, and again, thinking about a legislative breakfast as it's just around the corner. She suggested maybe early December as a good point for us to all meet and finalize our legislative priorities prior to that, so we can be able to present them with our handbook, our little booklet. So again, just putting that on your guys' radar as it's just around the corner. This was an update that President Bozé had asked us for. COVID-19 update, what are we still doing? And currently we have clean air protocols in place, maintaining 4 to 5 complete air exchanges hourly within classrooms, complete outside air exchange of buildings before and after each school day, providing HEPA grade MERV 18 and up air purifiers for each classroom, 2 to 4 times a year filter change of our HVAC equipment. We're also using the highest rated air filters recommended by the manufacturer. Filter changes for air purifiers include indicated by a light on device. And again, we have plenty of filters to continue to replace them. We're also still under the cleaning protocols that we developed during remote learning. Bleach is used for surface disinfection, deep cleaning, hand sanitizers, disinfecting fogs. Masks are available for those that want it. And again, we're still continuing through student wellness protocols as well. Testing following the New Mexico DOH COVID-19 guidelines. So again, we're still continuing on all protocols that we had in place prior and continuing to move forward. And last but not least, I know this was a hot topic a few weeks ago, and we do have our deputy superintendent and our executive director in the audience. Transportation. As you know, we alerted staff about the cancellation or the current pause on some of the routes. Again, we have 39 bus routes and we only had 29 drivers. So we were lacking at least 25%. And those drivers, we want to tip our hats to because they are pulling off an amazing job of doubling routes, covering routes, our office staff. And, it's a very hard job. Every job in education is hard, but when you have to drive a bus at the start of the day, at the end of the day, you have to have good bus management. We call it classroom management, but bus management is difficult during these times. As you know, we did publish the hub routes to help secondary and middle school students, and it looks like that has really helped solve a lot of the issues that we heard. Again, we still are exploring many options. I did meet with PED today during our event with the electric buses, and we started to explore a vendor called Trust Ed, but through state statute, they're not allowed to transport students. We were asked, can we use vans, buses, SUVs? Through state statute, they cannot transport students. The only vehicle you can use to transport students to school is a bus. So it's a huge need to hire and train certified CDL. I don't really remember, Deputy Superintendent, what that stands for. But again, PED is also starting to look at whether or not, if they go through a system, a district system to become certified, putting something on that license that keeps them in place to drive buses. Because some of the issues is we will help train, certify, and then they leave for a higher paying job. So this is not just a Santa Fe Public School issue. This is a statewide issue for not only school districts, but also the private sector. So I just want everybody to hear we are still looking at solutions. President Bose put us in touch with the regional transit district. So we are meeting with them, but again, we are still trying to explore options. Those that are continuing to be impacted by this pause on some of those routes can receive per diem for transporting their own kids. And they would need to contact our transportation director within our transportation department for the proper paperwork to be submitted. So again, we are continuing, we're continuing to hire. And again, I cannot stress enough that we offer free paid training for individuals to receive their CDL. So again, we're still hiring, we're still training. And again, we have alerted the governor's office, PED, and I think something this legislative session would come forward. That does conclude my announcements, and me and my team will stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Any questions, comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Robbins.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent. Yeah, I just wanted to recognize Mandela as one of the schools most heavily affected by this. Our afternoon route got canceled. So I spoke to some younger students who can't yet drive themselves, some middle schoolers, and it's a real problem. There's nothing to do. So I just wanted to thank the board for the work that you're all doing on fixing this, recognizing it as an urgent problem and offering that per diem as well. So yeah, thank you all for working to fix that.
Of course.
I have a question not related to the announcements, but it was brought up at a junior assembly at Santa Fe High that we're moving towards so most juniors have to test through the SAT for standardized testing. Will that SAT be digital this year, and will we have to all take the SAT?
Great question, Mr. Park. It's part of what the state requires for even the new grading system is for juniors to participate in the SAT. We've talked to individuals at the state office to really take a look at that. It is required. I don't know, is it electronically available, or is it in paper and pencil?
It is a digital assessment.
There you go. So this will probably be the first year it's on a digital format. You're welcome.
Yes, Vice President Anderson.
Thank you so much. I have a comment and a question. The comment is I can't believe how many obstacles we're facing in transportation. I was able to meet this week with Mr. Romero and Ms. Wagner and talk about the history of transportation issues in the district, and it's just been an ongoing struggle, and our staff has done bent over backwards to get kids to school. And I know that that's hard for folks who are impacted to see, but I know that everyone's doing absolutely everything that they can. You guys talked about some really creative ways that you're looking into to get kids to school. So I just want to thank you. And I also want to thank you for getting the hubs together. I think that will really help. We can get some folks to Mandela that way. Through the hubs, people can go to their local schools, and then there's less of a gap in the distance. So I know that was a lot of thinking on your feet. So thank you so much for that. And then I wanted to loop back. I don't know if it's best to do this now or when we do board discussion and possible action, but I did want to just loop back on to see if there's any update on what we talked about at the last board meeting about EJ, talking with the community there, if there's been any discussion or if there's a plan or what's going on with that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Vice President Anderson. We are working on a plan to address what you guys had asked us to communicate with the community. I think we have a meeting next Thursday or Friday to really take a look at the game plan and really put something on paper so we can move forward with.
Thank you so much.
I was wondering if you knew how many of the impacted students were helped by the hubs being implemented.
Yeah, and I think that's twofold. Thank you for that, Board President Bose. What we're taking a look at each and every week is not only students who have made it to school through the hub system, but also those that may not have made it to school. So attendance efforts, we're taking a look at that. Any students that may have transferred out. So we're really looking at this holistically to see with this decision how it impacts students not only getting to school, but also maybe those missing. So we'll bring back updates, but we're taking a look at it each and every week. This was the first week. So right now the data may be a little raw, and we need to take a look at it maybe at the end of next week.
Yes, Board Member Noble.
Thanks for the update on the transportation. I appreciate it. I guess I want to ask, and commercial driver's license is CDL, and I appreciate that we pay for it. What can we say about pay of our bus drivers and where it is and how it's comparable to other districts and where it's funded from and what we might do about it? It's a lot of questions, I know. But.
Great question, Board Member Noble. So again, and Deputy Superintendent Wagner and I stepped out because we're kind of reflecting on when we've made this decision and what's come of it. And so it's nice that there is a silver lining, right? And LESC has published a paper asking for $25 as a starting hourly rate for bus drivers. Currently, we're at $19 an hour, and we just
Legislative Education Study Committee,
Correct.
one of the
I'm
key
sorry.
legislative bodies that budgets for educational stuff. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Last year, through negotiations, we raised the hourly pay from $15 an hour to $19 currently. However, every other district around us did the same. Rio Rancho's at 21, Powak is just as high. So we're all competing for the same drivers of a small pool. And my discussion with those at the state level has been we're grateful if they can raise it and provide the funding for it. I think that's the other key piece. But we're still going to be competing for the same small number of certified drivers right now, right? And so for us, because of cost of living, it really does impact us a little differently than other communities. But again, they're also talking about if you become certified through a school district, maybe tying them to the school district for a year or two without allowing them to leave. Because what's happening right now when they go through our system, they become certified, they get the endorsement, then they leave for the private sector because they can pay more. I mean, that's reality. And so for us, we're really seeing that the silver lining is there. Higher pay, fully funded, maybe tying something to the license or certification. So we'll continue to work with the state. They've asked us to provide some feedback on that study that came out. Just again, talked to PED today, and they want to actually ask for more money. And so that's great, right? When you have to make these decisions, you don't like them. You take some hits, but at the end of the day, there is going to be benefits from it. So I hope I answered all your questions. I may not have, or I may have.
I think you did. That was sort of the general overview. I appreciate that. So related and follow-up is how are we working on legislative priorities, and have we thought about a process? And I don't know whether this is rising to the top yet, but that's often a key thing, and this one will, I would imagine, resonate with our Santa Fe delegation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if I can meet with you guys in pairs or individually so we can start working on that platform, I think that's the first step. But you're absolutely right. I think our legislators that represent us really know what we went through, and so I think they would be behind it. One of the things that really handicaps us is that the test must be taken in English. You can study in Spanish, but it has to be taken in English, and that's a federal regulation. So when you think about that, especially for our community, it could automatically cut it in half. and that for other communities as well. So I did bring that to the attention of some of the state officials I've been talking to. But again, that's a federal regulation that has to be changed elsewhere outside of the state of New Mexico. But it does limit the pool of applicants.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Another thing I learned is that the SAT is only available in English. So that too.
Any other questions or comments on the superintendent's announcements? Yes.
I already went, but I had one last one.
It's okay.
So the lottery that's open right now is for interzone transfers. What are the dates of the pre-K lottery? That's different, right? Is that different? I don't need to know the dates.
Do you remember the dates?
It hasn't
Okay,
been announced
has
yet,
not
but
been.
it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know we just worked on the policy for it.
Okay.
And so that'll come.
Okay,
soon.
cool. When we do the interzone transfers, then all of the sudden, all of the pre-K parents start to get nervous. So I just
So
want to
it's
make sure.
coming.
Yeah,
So,
they don't want to miss it. So I just wanted
Cody,
to make
we
sure
may
that
want to
was on
put
the.
something out that the pre-K lottery will open on a specific date.
No rush. I just wanted to
But no, that's a good
clarify.
point. Yep.
I actually had a lottery question as well. Can you outline again as reminders who gets priority in the lottery? How that, I can tell you were excited for that question.
I kind of knew that one was coming, but I didn't prepare for it. Do you know, Cody? Can you read it? Thank you.
I've seen a couple questions circulating, whether that's for siblings or how that works for teachers and staff.
Internet is slow. Dr. Weaver, can you help boost the speeds on my laptop?
Do you need my hotspot?
It might be better at this point.
How old's your laptop?
Funny story is I just got it like last week because my other one was too old, so I just got a new one.
And let us know when you're ready, Mr. Janarski, but I can add a little bit to that electric bus showcase, if you want to call it that today. One of Albuquerque's representatives who will be carrying a bill was present. The Legislative Finance Committee was present. Again, the LESC was present. PED was present. And because of the recognition, they're calling us, one of the leaders in the state, us in Las Cruces Public Schools. They're going to utilize us, as an example. But I was pulled aside by an individual in attendance, and they're willing to allocate us additional funding to purchase another electric school bus plus a couple of charging stations. We did announce that we should be receiving 3 more electric school buses by December for a total of 4 in operations. If we're funded for everything we've applied for, we could, on top of the 4, add an additional 16, which would be 50% of our fleet or routes going electric.
That leaves a lot of gas money to pay those bus drivers. I don't know how that works, but it sounds nice. Yes, Dr. Gonzalez.
President Bose, Superintendent, members of the board. Senator Souls will be carrying the bill on the Senate side. So I'm sure it's going to pass.
It looks like we're having trouble with it. Can we send it to you guys, the priorities?
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
fine.
Mr. Donarski, we'll just send it to them, the priorities.
Thank you. All right. Is that it on superintendent announcements and follow-up? And we're skipping our presentation, so we are on to our action items. Are there any items that board members would like to pull out of the consent agenda? Yes, Vice President Anderson?
Thank you so much. I wasn't here for the September 28th meeting, so I'll just need to vote separately on the minutes for the September 28th meeting.
That was the Monday night. You were here.
Oh, that was in August. That was the day before my birthday. August 28th
You're right.
was that meeting. I was gone the 28th.
Okay.
For the ordination of, I had to wave some incense at church. It was quite wonderful, but I missed that meeting. I read through the minutes just to make sure it was the right one.
Okay.
So we'll have to pull that off. And then I do just have a question on the contracts.
We will pull the September 28th minutes out of the consent agenda, and we can vote on everything else if I have a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Could I ask my question? Or no, we do it after that.
Give a second,
Okay,
and then
second.
I can. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Questions?
I'm new here. I apologize.
It's okay. I have a question also.
Okay, great. This is probably Deputy Superintendent Wagner, maybe, or maybe it's not. But I just had a question about the GeoBond Jane's Corporation contract. Is that's like already in the GeoBond? It's not. I know we've like gone back and forth, and we've had some like projects that were more expensive than we thought they were. I just didn't know how that fit into this because I'm not on the CRC anymore. So.
Sure. Board President, board members, superintendent, the Jane's contract for Santa Fe High School, that's the one you're looking at. Everything has already been approved via the CRC and the Board of Education for that project. We're simply extending a contract that has been finalized, fine-tuned, so to speak, with the right dollar amount to finish out the project. But we aren't adding additional monies to the project. We're just extending a contract.
Thank you so much.
And if you can just stay up there, Deputy Superintendent, we've had a conversation, just so everybody's aware, what the price per square foot of construction is now. I think it's important to share with the board and those listening because it continues to climb.
Sure. Yeah, this is a hard one to say out loud, but we're up over $500 a square foot for construction. So the project in motion, Mandela, we're starting to sharpen our pencil. We're gonna have to get it real sharp.
Yikes.
Haven't seen,
Yikes.
Well, and one additional note, the contractors we work most closely with assure me we'll continue to see price escalation up to 10% annually. So, we're drawing projects at 12 to 18 months' time. So I've asked them to put a 10% buffer on a project that we're drawing at $500 a square foot.
Yes, Mr. Robbins.
Could I ask, how does that compare to when the 2021 Go Bond passed with that funding for Mandela?
That's a really good question, Board President, board members, Superintendent Chavez, and student board members. Let me get that to you. I want to be right on with that. But, to put it into perspective, I want to say, Milagro, and again, I'll get this to you in writing because I think it's a really interesting study. Milagro Middle School, which be our last comparable project, I'm guessing came in somewhere around 200 a square foot, maybe less. But I'll double check all that for you and get you the data. I think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating picture of the landscape of something that we probably will never find our way out of in the near future.
Thank you.
Was it a $500 per square foot increase, or is it $500 per square foot?
That's the price per square foot for construction, for just the bricks and mortar part of the building.
All right. My question was also on that same item, and I think you clarified. This is for the Santa Fe High build? Okay.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. I saw, at the total price tag there and what this was adding, and I just wanted to make sure I knew what facility it was for. While you're up there, if you wouldn't mind, if you have an update on when ECO will be opening.
Again, we're still, fine tuning that timeline, but I expect students and faculty will be in the building sometime in the new calendar year.
Awesome.
We'll announce that well in advance. And why don't we have a ribbon cutting?
Yes.
So we'll make sure you get an invitation.
Beautiful new facility.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions on our consent agenda? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the consent agenda minus the September 28th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we can pull out our September 28th minutes separately and vote on them with a motion and a second.
I move approval of the minutes for September 28th.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Thank you. All right. Now we're moving on to our second policy readings.
Thank you, Board President Bozay, members of the board, those in the audience. Taking us through our second reading of amended policy 307, medication at school, is our Executive Director of Student Wellness, Ms. Sue O'Brien.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, and our student board members. I'm here this evening again with our lead nurse, Myrna Barbie Lee, to present the second reading for Board Policy 307, which is titled Medication at Schools. A provision, as a recap, a provision was added to our most recent policy implementing stock, or the request to implement stock emergency medications in our schools. Consequently, we must ensure alignment with the current New Mexico Health Manual, the New Mexico Board of Pharmacy, the New Mexico Administrative Code on Emergency Medication at Schools Act, and the New Mexico Department of Health Regional Health Officer regulations regarding medication in schools. And this includes having a written policy prior to implementing the law. Again, as a recap, what initially prompted a review of this policy was really an interest in implementing stock medication in our schools to increase access to life-saving medication for students who either had not been diagnosed with a condition, a respiratory distress condition, or severe or allergy reaction to, who've had severe allergic reactions, and or the students who did have a history of and a diagnosis of, but didn't happen to have their medication at school or on their person. And we did not have any requests for change from our first reading to our second reading. So at this point, I am asking and recommending that Policy 307 as it stands is approved by the board. Thank you.
Vice President Anderson?
I just wanted to share a story that happened related to this. It's a very short story that happened related to this policy this week. I sent my 5-year-old with asthma to school, and she was fine. And then I got a call a couple of hours later that she was having an asthma attack, and I somehow had not brought her inhaler back from last year. I live 5 minutes away. It was totally fine. We got her the inhaler. She's great. She was literally jumping on the couch later that afternoon. But she's not at a school with a nurse. But I think it's great that for students who are at schools with nurses that we're able to have that stock medication available for folks, because there really are emergencies, and there are parents like me who don't bring the inhaler back after the summer. I just think it's great, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
I too am one of those parents. I got a call from my kid's school last Friday. Same exact situation. All's well that ends well. So I would like to move approval of this amended Policy 307, medication at school.
I will second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board President Bozay, members of the board, for approving that. Taking us again through our second reading, same group of individuals at the microphone, but it's second reading of amended policy 310. Ms. O'Brien.
Thank you, Superintendent Chavez. Board President Bozay, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, student representatives. We are here to seek approval for the second reading of amended policy. It's actually a repeal and replacement of policy number 310, resuscitation and do not resuscitate orders. And we did have, when Myrna and I went back and reviewed the policy, the first reading, we noticed a couple of things. And so we are actually asking for approval of the policy with 2 changes. One, which you will find on lines 24 and 25, we wanted to really emphasize in the situation where there was a DNR order in place, that we would always provide allowable comfort measures such as oxygen administration or pain medication. And we really wanted to make sure we had that language in there, and we did not put that in the first reading. I did mention it in the cover and, you know, the explanation of how we would practice, but we wanted to make sure it was in the policy. So we apologize for not having that for you in the first reading. The second change that we really wanted to make is actually on line 119 of the policy, where it describes in the section 5, and that is the revocation of a DNR. And what we wanted to make sure is that it originally read physical destruction of the DNR order form or consent of the, or a written statement by the authorized decision maker. And what we're suggesting is that we as a district need both. So we don't want to just destroy the order, but we want written documentation on file that the person of authority is now revoking that order. So those are the two changes that we're hoping you will accept in this second reading that were different than the first. And at this point, we stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
I'll move approval.
Thank you. I will second. All in favor of approving policy 310 with the noted changes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. And our lead nurse, Ms. Myrna. Thank you. All right. Going through our first reading of amended policy 502, budget development and maintenance. Our CFO, Mr. Robert Martinez, will take us through our first reading. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Superintendent Chavez. Madam President, members of the board, student board members, bringing before you tonight the first reading of amended policy 502, budget development and maintenance. Business Services is recommending and requesting approval of this policy to correct existing language, but most importantly, to allow blanket approval by the board for submission of maintenance and transfer bars. Maintenance and transfer bars are required on a daily basis to perform simple budget maintenance, and it's only moving existing and approved budgets already within and between the same fund and function series. Maintenance and transfer bars, they do not increase or decrease fund budgets, but instead allow sites and departments the flexibility to move existing budgets more freely between series pursuant to the PEDS chart of accounts. Amendment to this policy will provide immediate budget authority within funds, allowing budget maintenance to occur on a daily basis. This will assist funds in maintaining a positive budget balance within the function series throughout the year and expedite bar submissions to the PED. FY22 audit finding, 2022-003 budgetary conditions, which was repeated and modified, could have a significant impact on the amendment of this policy, as the auditor recommendation was to perform budget maintenance to the function level at minimum on a weekly basis. Currently, maintenance and transfer bars are taking about a month to do budget maintenance. And then also at the end of the fiscal year, we have at least a good week or two between the end of the fiscal year and our last board meeting, which is when a lot of the budget maintenance really needs to be done. When we have those grants that the PED is either reimbursing us or not, and we're moving costs. So we just want to make sure that, we're having budget within our fund and function series. It's as simple as a school wanting to move budget between their supplies and materials and their professional development. And really that's taking a month, and they're missing out on those professional development opportunities, or they're also missing out on lower costs for certain things because the costs rise. So that's the request of this policy. And we can take a look at the current policy, and we'll go ahead and move to, thank you, Cody. We'll go ahead and start on line 8. That's where the revisions on the next line start, but it's in the same sentence. Once the district operating budget is approved by NMPED by July 1 of each new fiscal year, changes to the fund budget shall follow NMPED's budget adjustment request bar process. Initial budget increase and decrease bars will be submitted to the board for review during board review and for action at board meetings. The new language requesting for approval is maintenance bars have blanket approval by the board to perform budget maintenance as needed, moving budget within the same fund and function series. Transfer bars have blanket approval by the board to perform budget maintenance as needed, moving budget within the same fund between function series. Following board approval, bars will be submitted to NMPED via the Operating Budget Management System, OBMS. With NMPED approval, changes to budget authority will be added in the district financial system. The bar process ensures changes in budget authority are properly reviewed and ensures that district and NMPED budget management systems remain consistent. So with that, I stand for any comments or questions from the board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez. Questions from the board? I was going to ask if you could give an example. I think, budget is such a tricky thing that it would be helpful to have an example of how this would change what we do on a twice monthly basis and what those sorts of funds that you would be allowed to move without our discussion include.
Absolutely. President Bose, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. As I mentioned, it's just a site or department trying to move money between supplies and professional development, or supplies and contractual services, or it's within their site or their department level budget. So right now for the SPED department, for instance, they're having to submit a bar, a basic transfer or maintenance bar that they have budget for in their fund, and it has to go to the board. So it's taking about a month for them to move that budget, and then the contract has to come back after that to actually increase or to instate the contract. So by the time that they're actually able to start services, it's anywhere 2 months. So really what this does is it expedites the fund transfer for them to go ahead and move these processes along. So it's not moving anything really from increasing or decreasing a budget. It's their site, their department has an allocated budget that the board has approved at the initial budget process. So it's not doing anything to their budget, but just allowing them to move it between the fund and the function series that they currently have. So just the function series that we normally see transfers, like I said, our supplies, materials, professional development. We see contractual services for SPED. It could be therapists, contracted, speech pathologists, technicians, that type of thing.
Thank you. Yes, Member Noble.
Thank you, President Bose, members of the board, superintendent. I'm struggling here. I know we do a lot of sort of $0 value maintenance bars, and the budget process and the transparency in terms of what we do there is pretty important to me. And we don't approve site budgets. We don't approve budgets at great granularity. We just don't. We approve a pretty high level budget. So I guess my question is, who will have oversight under the new policy? How will it work that it's not all getting transferred into a supply budget where somebody's buying themselves a new TV, let's say?
Right, good question. Board Member Noble, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. And that's something that, we're totally up for to continue providing the board with the maintenance and the transfer bars that did take place with that blanket approval that were submitted to the PED. So you could review those. It's as simple as if the board does not want to approve a bar that went, we could reverse the transaction and it be done. But I mean, we can continue to provide that as a part of consent, just maintenance and transfer bars, a bar listing with the detail like we currently do now. Maintenance and transfer bars do show up as 0, but they are not 0. The only reason it's showing up as 0 is because you're not increasing or decreasing a fund. You're just moving money from your existing account in one object to the next.
And to your question, Board Member Noble, and maybe it's something that we need to take a look at in this policy and even add a line to develop an AR, an admin regulation, to prevent that from happening, because you're absolutely correct. At a site level, they could move from PD to supplies or vice versa. And yeah, anything, right? And then they're short, and we would have to provide some oversight for it. So I think that's a great question. We'll talk about it because I think there has to be some kind of oversight from us as a district team to make sure that they're moving funds appropriately.
Thank you. I think I'd appreciate that. I mean, and just to say, I'm a little uncomfortable, partly because I don't entirely understand this, and words like blanket approval are
Big and scary.
a little bit, nervous making. The other thing that, because this clearly is related to some issues that showed up in the 2022 audit, I wonder if we could have our auditors or somebody look at the policy to see if we're doing it right. You know what I mean? I think the auditors might weigh in on whether the language here will do what it needs to do to correct some of these issues and again, this sort of operational and oversight on a sort of ongoing basis, which is related to the larger conversations that we've been having, I would appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get them to look at it, maybe even some of the terms being used.
Board Member Noble, Superintendent Chavez, members of the board, I did have our auditor go through this, and this was also, and we can have them go through it further if, to your choosing. Also, how this came about to me was from the New Mexico Association of School Business Officials from the NMASBO. Other school districts are using this. So this actually came from Hobbs Public School District. The policy that they're currently using, part of the language came through because they also had an audit finding that was relative to the Santa Fe Public School District from FY22.
Thank you. I think that touched on my next question, which was, are other districts doing this? What's considered best practice? I think I share the same concerns that Board Member Noble mentioned. So,
Absolutely. We'll do our work before our next meeting.
great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that before we move on? Okay. Thanks so much, Mr. Martinez. Oh, well,
No, first reading, we don't have.
first reading.
Do we have?
I mean, we generally do. I think we should be clear about our process. We don't have to vote. And I think that the consensus, if I'm reading the room, is that we postpone this item and bring it back
Yes.
at the next
Yes.
meeting.
All right, we are on to board discussion and possible action. The first item on that list is reimagining.
Thank you, Board President Bozé, members of the board. By way of a quick update, the Reimagining Steering Committee met last week. It all runs together. It was last Thursday, and it was, I think, a really wonderful meeting. There was a lot of really substantive discussion on bilingual education. We are now doing meetings that are focusing on some of the key areas that the reimagining process has identified, the complexity and benefits of bilingual education, and really unpacking the different models that we have, including dual language schools and heritage education for bilingual ed, were wonderful. I learned a great deal, and it remains something that was not just identified by our stakeholders through engagement in the early reimagining process as a priority, but seems just to be a kind of almost unanimously held thing that we could really do well, that the Santa Fe Public Schools has the opportunity to be exceptional and a national leader. We may already be there in a number of ways, but that enhancing and really communicating our strengths in bilingual education is something that I think there's a lot of agreement that we want to do. So all of this is moving towards hopefully some very concrete. I'm asking for bold. It will likely involve some deep thought, discussion, and maybe courage from this board in terms of what will come forward in reimagining by the end of the fiscal year. Our next, we also touched upon transportation and some other issues, but it's really been wonderful to go deep. We did middle grades last time, and next time, I forget what we're doing. But do you remember, Superintendent?
Yeah, I got the briefing.
Okay.
Because I wasn't present. But it was middle school bilingual ed is a big one, and we hope to bring that same presentation back in December for the rest of the board members and introduce you to our new bilingual director. A wonderful individual. But I think it was middle school are the hot topics right now, and bilingual ed.
And it's looking at sort of, I think, enhanced magnets programming, I believe will be our next topic. I think I got there. So the reimagining process continues to move forward, and I think we're in a rapid development of the next stage of strategy period, if you will. So before the end of the year, we should have, I think, a good update on the plan for the new year for the board of exactly what will happen by when.
Awesome. Yes, Vice President Anderson.
Thank you so much, Board President and Superintendent, members of the board. I had a couple of questions. One is, can I attend the next steering committee meeting? Are we doing that? I can't remember.
Anyone can attend, and I think that we need to not have three of us.
Right.
So if I need to step back, as I've been to a lot of them, ultimately the ask is to communicate through the superintendent if you really are going to be in attendance, and then we'll just make sure that three of us are not there.
Okay, cool. I'm really interested in the concept of magnet schools, so
Yeah, I am
would love
too.
to.
I've been working on it.
All right, let's kick.
Yeah.
Let's kick
We're gonna-
board member
we're gonna
Noble
kick-
out. And then,
We're gonna kick you out.
Yeah, and then for the bilingual, has there been any discussion of like indigenous languages in the bilingual program, or has it been mostly Spanish? And Mandela has a Mandarin program, right? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, and to that question, when we bring that presentation forward, hopefully in December, he'll really talk about heritage model and where that fits in, because I think that would answer your question. Yeah.
And it was touched upon, it was mostly talked about as Spanish. It does, the superintendent, of course, is correct. It does fit into the heritage model. As you probably know, the indigenous language thing gets complicated because not all indigenous languages can be taught generally, or to non-members and that sort of thing. So that was something that, in terms of, we touched upon it with the committee, but did not go in depth.
That was when we did the focus groups with the Indigenous, the Native American Student Services parents. That was one of the things that they brought up. And I think it would be interesting, something like Dene, where we have a significant student population and there is a good model out there for teaching. Like there's a lot of, you can get on Duolingo and learn Dene, or you could try like I did for 30 minutes and then say maybe later, because it's a really interesting language. But I wonder if there's a possibility, or even partnering with Santa Fe Indian School. They have language. They're doing a lot of really cool language stuff with like distance learning, which, you know, might not be relevant to us given our population. I think, gosh, we have like 1.5% Indigenous students, so there's a small number. But I think it's just something interesting to talk about, and it was brought up in our focus group.
Any other questions about reimagining or comments? Dr. Gonzalez?
It isn't really about reimagining, but before the fiesta and then Trada and all that hullabaloo, we were supposed to, or there was talk about getting a group together to come up with a plan for next year so that we don't do this thing at the last minute again. So I don't, is there anything happening with
yes,
that?
I can-
Regarding fiestas?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can give you an update on that. I was actually going to do that under advanced planning. So we still have been meeting. I think this is second or third month in a row that we've met. They have asked at this previous meeting, which was to Board Member Noble's point, don't remember if it was last week or the week before, if a board representative would want to join the committee. So I would bring that back, ask, but it has been ongoing. We've meet monthly, and there's been a lot of great progress and thoughts.
So who participates?
We have those from the Fiesta Council Board. We've invited Native American representatives that Vice President Anderson has given us. Other community members, such because what we do ask for is who should be involved in these meetings and these discussions. So we've gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of names. So they've been invited, plus our staff as well. So it's been great. It's been very collaborative, and again, they're really wanting to do some great work for next school year.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Dr. Gonzalez, for bringing that up. I would like to not be the board member present. But I did have a question just because the Indigenous folks that we had talked to who had initially been involved, when I had spoken with them, felt a little burned maybe and maybe did not want to rejoin. So I wonder if there could be an effort made by other members of the board or by members of the staff to reach out to folks in the Indigenous community to make sure that, I know that was a really difficult and painful and harmful thing to the community. So if we're able to get folks who are willing to get involved, I think we'll have to make a little bit more, like, you know, we'll have to make a pretty significant effort to get folks involved. But in those conversations, it would be great to have folks like that involved.
Yes, Dr. Gonzalez?
If no one else wants to be on that committee, I'd be happy to be.
I'm also interested in going, but I think we can both go. Right? Two of us?
Yeah, and
Or maybe we take
have them
turns
at-
or something like
from
that.
4 to 5. Is it the last Thursday or Wednesday of the month? We'll get it out, but
Okay.
it's late in the day.
Okay. Great. Yes, Board Member Noble.
I guess just on that point, I may have a different version of what happened over the last year, but I think there were a lot of meetings that happened, and that actually it didn't come up very last minute. There had been a lot of conversations, so you know, I know, Superintendent, you're thinking about this, but how this works, how there is progress measured and accountability for agreements made. And I think most of all, I want to be very, very clear and very careful that if we have something like this on the agenda again, that we keep the meeting much more tightly run and safe. I did not feel safe. I cannot imagine that anyone who did not have sort of wholehearted agreement with much of the crowd in the room felt safe. And I think it is really important that if we are going to do this, I appreciate the conversations. I think we do need to do the work on this, and I appreciate those willing to do. I believe a lot of work had been done, but I think we need to be really, really careful to make sure that we have a much more equitable and tightly run approach to anything involving what might happen with the schools and the Fiesta Council, because I'm still feeling very damaged by what happened and what I saw. And I think, frankly, that we could have done a better job of making that safe and fair for everyone.
Heard and agreed. I have a couple notes here. I don't know if they're for board discussion and possible action or advanced planning, but you mentioned our legislative breakfast. We also didn't do our retreat that got postponed, and so perhaps we can work on rescheduling that. Of course, now we're into holidays, but maybe we can find some time. Can you reach out to the board members about scheduling that so we don't have to all
Yeah, absolutely.
calendar it now?
I'll reach out to each board member for both.
I'm not traveling. I'm here.
The
so-
legislative breakfast and the retreat.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other item on board discussion and possible action is 2023-2024 board committee appointment to the audit committee. Is that you have an appointee, board member Noble?
I do.
Okay.
And fortunately, on good faith, he was able to attend the audit committee meeting today. But I'd like to appoint Jairo Gutierrez, who is a State Farm agent, businessman, and he is wonderful and has agreed to serve on the audit committee. So I'll go ahead and move appointment of Jairo Gutierrez to the Santa Fe Public Schools Audit Committee for the
I'll second that.
2023-2024 time period. And we're
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks so much. That sounds like he'll be, I've interacted with him a little bit as well. Really nice guy. Great addition. Any other board discussion and possible action? Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's the right time, and I apologize for not bringing it up earlier. I was a little bit shocked by that $500 per square foot number.
Right.
But I mean, I just wanted to sort of reiterate the importance of the Mandela project. I mean, I've been involved in it for like 2 years now, and I know board member Noble knows that. I spoke in public forum last year. You know, I had a couple questions and points. First, I was interested if the board or the district was looking at any legislative assistance for getting more finance, whether that's capital outlay or a bill. I think it might be a bit late for capital outlay, but I just think that's something to maybe consider. You know, another topic is the speed. Like we as early as 2021, to my memory, we had people with blueprints come into Mandela, hang them in the, you know, staff hallway, like these promising things for a plan. And of course they were unofficial, but still seeing that blueprint, I mean, it does mean something. And in my head, it's a type of commitment. You know, the longer it takes, in 2 years, that number will be 600 if we follow that 10% increase. I mean, we don't even know if that's being conservative or generous. So, yeah, and just finally, I wanted to mention student voices. I don't think we've had a lot of input from students in the plans, and I know it's still early in the process, so I'm sure that's part of the reason why. But I think it's really important to let Mandela know what's happening. I know that there's a lot of students who are interested in knowing the process, knowing what's going on, and so, yeah, I mean, I'd like to reiterate that as important, especially, you know, representing Mandela, having spoken with the Mandela community, Mandela teachers, all that stuff, and now hearing numbers like that, which are really big. So that's.
Mr. Robbins, you are welcome to attend the CRC meeting next week if you'd like. We get construction project updates. Ms. Wagner could probably send you last meeting's construction updates because we do talk about the Mandela Project at every CRC meeting. And you're welcome to attend if you'd like. It's interesting.
Yeah, thank you. I was actually going to attend the last one, and then something came up last minute, so I wasn't able to make it. But thank you for that.
Great. So on the topic of advanced planning, we do have CRC. Yes, I'm sorry.
I am hoping, I would like to request that we put cell phones in schools on a board discussion item. And this is something I think, honestly, we would really need some student input on. But there's a lot of...
I heard it at the Reimagining Retreat in June. We talked about it a bit at our table.
Okay, I didn't remember that. I read a big long article about it this morning.
I've been reading a bunch of articles. Yeah.
I guess I think that, and Superintendent, I don't know if you all want to weigh in at some point on recommendations. I do think this is something we need to work on a little bit, you know. There are a lot of best practices and a lot of things happening, but I think that we should bite the bullet and talk about cell phones in schools.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I think getting input from our student board members is going to be key, but also, you know, our staff members and principals who really have to implement, you know, whatever policy comes of it.
Well, and maybe the Office of Student Wellness could talk about the mental health impacts and such. Yes, Mr. Park.
What would be like the most effective way in getting student voices? Like what have other student board members used in the past to best get like a good sample size of like student populations, and would we be going outside of our district?
I don't know that I have the greatest answer. I have ideas, but yes, Member Noble.
So, I mean, in the past, there's been the, you know, tried and true sort of survey or sort of discussion group. But honestly, I think it's ripe for reinvention and figuring out how to do it well. I would say that, you know, coming up with a plan that I don't know about the sort of going outside of the district. I would say lots of input, you know, it's hard. It's hard to do, and how to ask the question would be something that would be helpful to work on with, you know, the superintendent and his team to make sure that we have some consistency across asking the question so we get good data. But ultimately, I think this is a sort of whiteboard, sky's the limit potential for making student engagement and voice on a policy potentially adopted by the board better than ever.
Did that answer your question? Yes, Vice President Anderson.
Thank you so much, Board President Bose. Superintendent, members of the board, I just wanted to hop on that question because we did have a student board member, Nisa Gallegos, who did a pretty incredible, wasn't it Nisa who did the, or was it prior to that, who did the survey of the students at Capitol regarding,
I think it was her.
Nisa, yeah, regarding, was it volunteerism? Yes. Yeah. So she might be a really good resource. Do you still have her contact information?
She's around.
She's, I mean, I saw her do a lot for the housing campaign. She was really awesome.
Really incredible.
And is still involved in Yucca, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So we did have a student board member who did a really good job of surveying the Capitol community. So it might be, and I think like board member Noble said, like the sky is the limit. Like you can really come up with a way to like engage a lot of people, and you probably, I don't know, you guys have TikTok and I don't. So I do actually, I run my church's TikTok, but that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, I think you guys have a lot of ways to like reach out to people that might be different than like putting together a Google form, which is like what folks like me typically do. So, you know, like I think come up with that, maybe reach out to Nisa and see what it was she did and where she had successes and where she didn't. I think that might be a good way to reach into that. Yeah.
Would we be like addressing more of student voices, or would we be addressing the parents? Because I know a lot of parents have concerns about phone policy as well as students. I think that would be like a big diverse because personally, our school, they're really like cutting down on having phones, but it really helps in some classes, such as like art, if we're doing a project with like photography or something. So would we be streamlining it to more of parents and students, or what should the emphasis be on?
What do you think?
I would think that your focus could remain on students. I think the district could probably engage parents and or families and teachers, family and staff. Mr. Robbins.
Yeah, I mean, just agreeing with Hanbi, like, this is going to be a topic where you're going to have disagreement between the students and the parents. I'll just tell you now. So, you know, I think this, like, if you've ever needed student voices on something, I'd say it's definitely going to be this one, because if this just passes without students knowing, then it's not going to go over so well.
All right.
Board President, may I add too? I'll be able to assist in any distribution that you guys have. So if you create a Google form or, you know, any other form that you want, send it out to students. You know, the district can handle any messaging out to parents, but anything out to students, we can help distribute that out to students for you. Just wanted to put that out there for you guys.
And I guess I just want to ask that we do get this on agenda and maybe have some parameters and frame from to do this before. Like, you know, obviously you can talk about what you want, but it is something that, you know, could kind of catch fire in terms of input and all this, that, and the other. But ultimately, because it's not on our agenda, we've gone about as deep as we should go into this tonight. But if we talk about it again, I think we can put some sort of meat on the bone and get a strategy for doing something and shaping a policy reasonably quickly, and appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yes. All right. I'll definitely make sure that's on an agenda soon. Any other board discussion and possible action? I jumped too quickly last time. All right. We will move on to advanced planning then. Next Wednesday, CRC in the evening, and that is an in-person meeting. Is that correct, Superintendent? Remind me which site we're meeting?
You are correct, at the current Desert Sage location.
All right. We will be meeting at the old Capshaw building for CRC next Wednesday.
And I will reach out to the board members about the legislative breakfast and also the retreat.
Thank you. And do we have a finance subcommittee study session next Thursday?
No, I don't think we have one.
Okay. Then we will be back here on December. Oh, no, that's also CRC. December 6th. 14th. December 14th, we'll be back here for a regular meeting.
Oh, if I can just add, yes, that's correct. But I think also just to bring to your attention, we tend to have the superintendent's evaluation at the end of January. So just to point that out as well.
Great. Thank you. We will fill up our calendars before the end of the year then. If nothing else, then I think we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.